Hello, my name is Yariv. I'm the Israeli Economic Consul for the Midwest on behalf of the Ministry of Industry, of Trade and Labor of the Government of Israel. With me today is Mr. Warren Buffett, a chairperson of Berkshire Hathaway, since 2006, 80% a shareholder of Iskar from Israel. Mr. Buffett, thank you for giving us this opportunity.
Oh, thanks for coming.
Nice to meet you. I would like to begin, please, with congratulations. I understand that you had your birthday just a few days ago.
Yeah, I was 80 the other day, but I may split my age, too, for one. We've never split the stock, but I'll split my age.
Okay, that's good advice. So as we say in Hebrew, Mazal Tov. I would like to begin, please, in light of recent events in the economies of the United States and European countries. How do you foresee the trends in global economy? Is the worst behind us, or there is still more to come?
I think the worst is behind us, but the pain will be felt for a long time from what happened, starting really in 2007, but then with the panic in the fall of 2008. So it's not going to be over for a long time, but we're going in the right direction. We're inching forward. We're not galloping forward, but we're inching forward.
Okay. With recent events in some of the European countries, especially Spain and Greece, and the fear in the European Union, do you believe that we have passed this, or unfortunately it could lead to something else?
It could lead to something else. There's a real challenge when you try to get a large group of countries with different cultures, different attitudes toward fiscal policy, and to share a common currency. I mean, this is a test, and I would say the test has not yet been passed. It's a real challenge. I think that's going to be an interesting one to watch.
Yeah, well, watching it from afar.
Yeah, I'd rather watch it from afar than nearby. Yeah.
Yes, I'm sure. Mr. Buffett, in 2006, you committed to gradually donating your shares of Berkshire Hathaway to philanthropic foundations.
That's right.
Recently, you have started asking other wealthy Americans, to do the same. In your opinion, what does this kind of level of private giving mean in and about a capitalistic society?
Well, I think when you have a rich capitalistic society, and we do despite our present problems, I think that you want to retain all the incentives of a market system. You don't want people when they get well-to-do to quit working, because you want the talented people to have every incentive to keep going. But I think that when you get enormous sums of wealth, as occurred with a number of people in this country, far beyond what they can ever spend, I think that at least, I'm really not preaching to other people so much, but I just feel that this society has made me rich. I would not have done well if I'd been in Bangladesh or someplace of the sort. So my wealth has come to a great degree from the rest of the citizens of the country. And I think in my own case, at least, that after my family's had everything they could possibly need, that the rest should go back to society. And I found in calling other people in the country, some wealthy people, a lot of people agree with us on that. And I think it's going to be more and more of a movement in the decades to come in this country.
So are you pleased with the response that you're getting?
I'm more than pleased. Yeah, I'm surprised, frankly. Bill Gates and I and Melinda Gates have made maybe 80 calls, and 40 people or so have signed up, and a number of others will be doing it. I mean, some people say they wish to do it, but they don't want the publicity attached to it. They want to stay below the radar screen. So the success is even beyond the announced numbers. And now, I'm not saying we change those people, because most of them have in mind doing this already, but America's had some tradition of increasing philanthropy over the years, started by Carnegie and Rockefeller in the past. And I think that's going to continue as the country gets more prosperous.
Okay, I wish you good luck.
Thank you.
I would like to ask you, traditionally, you are known to prefer investing in traditional industries. With the rapid development of technology, do you believe that there is still a distinction between knowledge-intensive industries and traditional industries?
Well, I try to limit my investments to things that where I think I understand what the business is going to look like 5 or 10 or 20 years from now. That's easier for me in the traditional industries than the newer ones. But it doesn't preclude investment in the newer ones, and certainly our managers may well understand those businesses better than I do, and I have confidence in them. So, in this car, for example, they're involved with plenty of cutting-edge businesses, and they'll do a terrific job with them. But it won't be because I'm helping them.
With the rapid development of technology and the globalization of manufacturing, do you believe that Israel has a sustainable advantage in this competitive global market?
They sure do. As I've said in the past, if you're going to the Middle East and looking for oil, skip Israel. If you're going to look for brains, just stop at Israel. You don't have to go anyplace else. And brains work over time. I mean, just Ishkar's the best example of that. I mean, they had no advantage 50 years ago or plus. The tungsten, came from China. The markets for their finished goods were primarily companies in Europe or in the United States. What they brought to it was brains and energy, and look how it's paid off. And I think that's, I think they're a special example. I mean, they are the best I've ever seen. But I think that Israel as a country has shown that it's got a disproportionate amount of brains and energy, and I think that works.
Disproportionate in a positive.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, with that, today there is a debate considering the achievements of the Israeli economy. Some say that it is based on government involvement. And there is a debate today, should a government support of private sector R&D and education should continue, or perhaps the market should be left to itself to decide what directions to take?
Well, markets should decide a lot, but government and business have to be in partnership. It can be kind of a strained partnership sometimes, but they're part of the same family. Now, that doesn't mean that two brothers always get along perfectly with each other, but they've got a common objective. And no country in the world is going to do well unless it fosters a climate where business flourishes, and business is not going to flourish in a country where the government isn't stable and progressive and forward-looking. So I look at the same situation in the United States as in Israel. I think it's important that business and government understand each other. They'll have differences, but in the end, government is not going to prosper without business, and business is not going to prosper with the wrong kind of government. And I think Israel, I don't know the internal situation in Israel. I'm so sure I know it so well in the United States sometimes, but I don't think you would not have gotten to where you have gotten in Israel if government and business had been at odds all the time, nor would we have in the United States.
So you would support government involvement as long as it would be within a dialogue with the market and the industry? Government
has to have some involvement, but it should realize that it needs business to succeed, and it should establish a climate where success is the likely outcome rather than stifling business in any way. And now, you can't have totally uncontrolled business enterprises. I mean, we've seen the product of that too. So it's a mating dance of sorts, and it's not, you don't get it perfect every day, but you have to get it perfect. You have to get it reasonably perfect over time.
Mm-hmm. Okay. It seems that in the last few years, or some years, there's been sort of a division of work. Manufacturing has been going to the east, and in the West, we've been left with services and high-tech. Do you think that the West has lost manufacturing to the East?
Well, it has to some extent, but there's always been an evolution in any economy that progresses in terms of what they do. I mean, the United States, go back 200 plus years, it was a farming economy, and a very high percentage of people were involved in farming, and now we have a few percent, but we're turning out way more farm products. So every economy will develop and find its own niche, find out what it does best, what the world thinks it does best. I mean, who would have guessed 30 or 40 years ago that software would be enormously important to the United States? Our movies are exported around the world. Our music is exported. The McDonald's of the world have gone all over the world. So it's very hard to predict where the next 20 million jobs will come from. But back in 1980, we created, 30 million jobs or something like that in the United States since 1980. And I can remember at the time people would be moaning, what is the country going to do? Are we all going to be just cutting each other's hair and making hamburgers for each other? We've found plenty of things to do, and that will continue in the future. Capitalism is dynamic.
Can an economy sustain itself based on services without much manufacturing?
Well, there will be a lot of manufacturing, but services can be very important. And a world of 6.5 billion or 7 billion people are going to demand a lot of services. And this country is exporting things. We're importing more than we're exporting. But our exports have gone from 5% of GDP 40 years ago to 12% now. So we are finding things that the world wants, and there's things we want from the rest of the world. And the more trade, the better.
Okay. Finally, I would like to ask you, what made you consider your first overseas investment, specifically in Israel?
Well, I got a letter in, I guess it was fall of 2006 from Eitan Wertheimer, and it was an amazing letter. I'd never heard of him before. I'd never heard of Iskar before. And here this page and a quarter letter comes to me. But it just jumped off the page that I was hearing from a remarkable person about a remarkable company. And he encouraged me, if I was struck by the company, to invite him over. So he came over with Jacob and Harpaz and Danny Goldman, and it confirmed when I met him exactly what I thought when I read the letter, that this was really a remarkable business with some remarkable people. And I'm in the business of becoming associated with people who are smarter and more energetic than I am. I mean, that works very well in life. And it was a natural. So you don't see any businesses really like Iskar. I mean, it has accomplished enormous things in the last few decades, and it keeps doing things. I mean, there's an impatience and a restlessness with doing things even better. As you know, we acquired a company in Japan a year or so ago, and Iskar will never stop. I mean, the boundaries just keep expanding, and that's ideal for me. I can just sit in Omaha and let the others do the work.
So is it fair to say that you're pleased with your investment in Iskar?
Yeah, I'm more than pleased. If you got any more Iskars over there, just call me. I got an 800 number. You can phone me on.
Okay, so therefore I can think that perhaps you're considering more investments in Israel?
Well, we're always interested. And we actually, our company CTV, which is in the agricultural equipment business, bought a couple of very small companies over there, but they're doing well. We have a company called TTI. I think we've just made a small acquisition in Israel. Now, we would love to acquire either a big independent company in Israel or other places, but certainly in Israel. Or we would love to acquire small, what I call tuck-in acquisitions that fit our present operations. And I think we'll do both.
Okay, we would be very happy to welcome you in Israel again, to show you around, to introduce more companies.
I loved it. I spent a couple of days there, I don't know, about 3 years ago, and I had a terrific time. And I was amazed at how much I could get accomplished there. I could see the whole country almost, and I had wonderful receptions from everybody. And I look forward to more investment in Israel.
Great. Glad to hear. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Real pleasure.